Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Mariah and this is Woolen Words. Today I wanted to show you how to do a magic loop. Now this is a great crochet technique for working in the round. So that means you can make socks, coasters, bags, baskets, amigurumi, and this is a great way and an easy way to start those projects working in the round. I love this technique because it is easy, versatile, and sturdy. It holds together really well. There's just a couple of tricks to make this happen. I wanted to show you guys a few things that I have made over the years with magic loop. I have made lots and lots of projects using the magic loop technique, and this is one of the first ones that I ever made. It is this hanging basket or bag, and I started it at the bottom with a magic loop, and it is still going strong. It is held together really nicely, and we use it to store our plastic bags in. I also have more recently made these yarn cozies from a free pattern that I found, and it also starts with a magic loop, and again it is held together very well. I love using this to put my yarn cakes in. I have also made this cute little trinket basket, and this is a cute little sunflower pattern. I believe this was also a free pattern, but it starts again with that magic loop. It has held together really well. I really love this. I put my change and my chapstick in it. And the other thing that I have made are these coasters. Now these have definitely been through the ringer. Literally, I wash and dry these in my machines, and they have held together so nicely. We use these every single day on our countertop, and they do not come apart. It is a little bit discolored on the bottom, but the magic loop has held very well for being washed and dried multiple times over the course of about a year and a half. And I have a white one that is just like it. This one probably needs to be washed again, but again, you can see it has held together very well. And these are made out of cotton yarn, so it is okay to wash and dry them, and that is why I made my coasters out of this cotton yarn. I also have this more decorative coaster. This one's made out of acrylic, so I probably couldn't dry it in the machine, but washing it would be okay. I just haven't yet. And again, it is held together very nicely. So it's definitely a great technique. But like I said, there are a couple of tricks to making this work. Let's get into making a magic loop. I have this cotton yarn. It is just Lily's, I believe, sugar and cream cotton yarn. And this beautiful denim color is what I'll be using today. Let me bring you a little bit closer and we will start. All right, so to do a magic loop, you start how you would almost any other crochet project. I like to leave a tail at least the size of the width of my fingers. That usually gives me enough to weave it in at the end for crochet and gives me enough to hold on to start. If you feel more comfortable using a longer tail, feel free to leave it as long as you want. This is just how I have done it, and it works really well for me. So I always start by making an X on my finger like this. I just take the yarn, again holding it in my fingers, and then I take it behind my finger and wrap it so there's an X right there. And I take my hook and put it under the top right leg of my X, and I grab the yarn that's on the top left leg of my X and I bring it underneath, just like that. So now I have this loop and the loop around my finger still. If you wanted to make a slip knot, this is how you would do it. You would let your finger out of the loop, and then you would pull both ends tight to make a slip knot. But for a magic loop, you want this to not have a knot. That is the magic of the magic loop, is that there's no knot, but it still holds together. So again, you make that X. I put my hook under the right top leg of the X and hook the top left leg of my X and bring it through to have a loop on my hook. Now I want to keep my finger inside this loop, and I have the loop on my hook. Now I'm going to yarn over and chain one. And that is the start of a magic loop. Now if you take your finger out of the loop, you can adjust the size of your magic loop, or you can make it smaller. I tend to make mine a little bit bigger just so I have a big enough loop to make sure I have enough room for the stitches that I'm going to be working. Now I like to untwist this yarn right here just so it looks like a loop. And then I will hold the loop with my thumb and my middle finger just to give it an anchor point, and then I have my tension on my first finger, and then this is where you would start crocheting into the loop. So you can do simple single crochet, which is how a lot of patterns start, especially with amigurumi. You're normally doing single crochets into your magic loop. So just for the sake of showing you one more time, let me undo all of this. You can just pull all of your stitches out and there's no knot, it'll just release. So we start with our yarn hanging over our hand. I like to twist it around my first finger so that I get an X across the front of my finger. And I take my hook and I put it under that first top leg of the X, and I hook the other side of the X and I bring it through to have a loop on my hook. And then I yarn over and chain one to anchor that and keep the loop. And then I just untwist the loop and I adjust it to whatever size is comfortable for me. And then I hold that loop with my thumb and middle finger, and I have the tension over my first finger. And now you can begin whatever stitch your pattern calls for inside that loop. Just like that. And you can continue on making however many stitches your pattern calls for in whatever stitch your pattern calls for. And then when you are ready to join in the round, all you do is you take this tail end of the magic loop and you're going to pull it close so that you have those stitches closer to you. So here it is almost a circle. We just need to join it to finish it off. You don't want to pull the tail too tight before you join it, otherwise it's going to be really hard to get into this first stitch. So I like to leave it a little bit loose, and then you are going to join however your pattern says to join or your preferred join method. I like to just continue with a single crochet, and then I will pull my loop up and take my hook out. If you like to join with a slip stitch, or if your pattern calls for that, that is totally fine, whatever you need to do. So now I like to flip it over so I see the back where the tail is hanging out. And now we are going to close the magic loop for good. This is really important to do after you've joined your new round, or joined so that you can start your new round. We are going to pull this tail, again, the tail end, we're going to pull it so that you close the middle. And then once it's closed like this, you want to really tug as much as you can, as much as it'll give. And this is what's going to ensure that it will stay put. This extra tug of making it super, super secure is going to make sure that your stitches don't slip. And then you can flip it back over and put your hook back into your stitch and continue working in the round however your pattern calls. Now, another little thing that I love to do is weave in my end as I go. This beginning tail end is just going to hang out inside your amigurumi until you weave it in, but I like to weave it in as I go by just crocheting over it. So I will just keep it under my stitch so that I can crochet over it and weave in my end as I go, and then I don't have to worry about it in the end. Especially when you're making amigurumi, it is difficult sometimes to go back in and find your end and weave it in, especially if you're making like a leg or an arm of a doll and it's really skinny. It can be hard to get back in there and weave it in. I just like to crochet over it for at least a round or so. And then you will probably be safe, especially if you're going to just tuck your end inside like so and just leave it there. For a coaster or something, you're going to want to make sure you weave it in. Again, crocheting over it for, I would say, as long as you can until it's fully disappeared in your stitches. Or if you don't want to weave it in as you go and crochet over it, you can leave it hanging at the back of your work and just keep it out of the way. And then when you are done, you can go back and weave it in at the back of your work. And just as a reminder, whenever you are crocheting in the round, whichever way your work is facing when you are making the single crochets or your stitches, whatever they happen to be, that is going to be the right side facing you. So as I work, this is the outside of my work. And if you flip it this way, this is the back of my work. And this is going to be the inside or the back of your work in the round. That's just a good rule of thumb. If you like how the back side looks better, then that can be the front. You can totally switch it. It's up to you. It's just for the sake of having a rule of thumb. When you're crocheting, the side that is facing you is the right side. But this is how you magic loop. It is super simple, easy, versatile, and very effective as long as you pull that circle really, really tight after you join in the round. And make sure to weave in your end either as you go by crocheting over it or waiting till the end and weaving it in. I suggest when you're weaving it in at the end to go in multiple different ways, kind of zigzag it around your rounds so that it makes it harder for the tail to unravel. But that is basically how you do a magic loop. All right, so that was nice and quick. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that this helped you, and hopefully it will keep your magic loop nice and intact for as long as your project survives. But I hope this was useful for you and informative. If you liked it, give it a like and give a comment down below giving any tips or tricks that you have for magic loop. And don't forget to subscribe for more knitting, crochet, and bookish content. And I will see you guys soon. Bye!